you guys can hear me right now. Just as you can see over here, making sure I can see your guys' comments, because last time I didn't catch them. But today we're just gonna, well, I'm just gonna draw some random stuff, you know. Might start with one of my characters I used to draw. She's like this person, but she can turn into this raven. I think it was pretty cool. What I would do was I would take her maxilla and her mandible, and I would split it in half, and you could still see her jaw, but it was just split when she was in her other form. And then on her nose bridge, that's where her beak would start to form. So you kind of got this hollow area right here. I haven't drawn her for a very long while. And then for the longest time I'd draw her eyes like this, but I didn't end up enjoying it, so I started drawing her eyes like this, more like she was some kind of monster, and I thought that looked pretty good on her. And you got the bottom jaw, and I don't want it to connect, so I used to connect them both, but I kind of want her jaw to be a little bit more interesting. And then I always had the problem of like doing that jawbone. Kind of like that. Sorry, I'm taking my headphone out, but then you can go in. Give her some gnarly ass teeth, you know? Go from there. Maybe she's lost one. And it would be like, so I think there was like some kind of connection here for the cartilage. You can see where the mandible split down like this. Right. But then there was like, it was like rotten, her gums or something like that. And then it would kind of go back here. And the other teeth. Other jaw. In all honesty, it's pretty easy for me to draw the jaw kind of split in half like that. I always am concerned about it like looking all right. In all honesty, it doesn't look natural the way I draw it, but it looks all right, and that's all that matters to me. It doesn't have to look natural. And then crows, they've got like, so these got these beaks. Alright. But it's got these tufts of feathers here. Ravens and crows and stuff. Maybe it connects down here. And go from there, right? Maybe smaller. But what I do is I make the tufts poofy. So her eyes here. Her eyes would be here. She's got like bird-like eyes. So we got this beak should come up a little bit more like this. Yeah, more like that. And then feather would be like kind of poofy up like this, right? And then instead of like going all the way over the top here, it would just go onto the middle and then through it, and that would kind of cover up this kind of beak area. I always like the visual of like the jaw mixed with the beak, because you look at it and you're like, think to yourself, yeah, that kind of looks like a bird, and then you look at it and you're like, yeah, it kind of looks like a person, and then you look at the entire thing and you're like, that looks nothing like any of those things. It's so unnerving, and I just love it. And we got the feathers down here. Just so hideous. Love it. I stopped drawing her in high school because I had someone who was into like anthropomorphic characters come up to me and wanted me to draw a main character that they came up with, and I was not into drawing that for them. But it sure was a experience. Just to have someone ask me that was kind of interesting. Not in a good or a bad way. I'm just not into that kind of thing, you know? We all have your own things we're into. And then she's got wings and stuff. I like her a lot. If I erase some of these kind of lines. She looks a lot better, I think. Can remove some of that extra stuff, actually. Change it so. And she had like a full kind of humanoid looking body, but her arms, so like if this is her, right? She's got like this longer kind of neck, her torso, hunched over, right? Her arms, like the kind of bicep area is more of a normal length, but as soon as you get after that, it's very elongated, and that's just where her hands are, you know. And then you got her wings, which for the longest time I didn't know if I would give her feathers on her wings. I was wondering if I would just work with the appendages, you know, like this. But I ended up giving her like actual feathers and stuff. I thought they looked cool. Another thing I had was she just had shoulder blades sticking out of her. In a very early design of her, she wasn't even able to turn into this creature. She could just split into ravens, like at will, which was an interesting idea, but I don't know. I never did enjoy it. Maybe it was the fact that I would have to draw every single thing that made me kind of go away from it a little bit. That was probably it, honestly. I can have a kind of lazy time when it comes to drawing, honestly. Like, I want something to happen immediately. Cool, you know? And if it doesn't happen, or if it seems a little bit too difficult, I try something else. Which is lazy, in all honesty. if you're really into something, you should really go at it. So in all of what I draw, I try to draw as best I can. I don't always draw the best, but the best that I can do is usually good enough for me. I think I saw a picture of like birds, and it always seems when they got like just before their wings, they have these kind of feathers that jut out. So I started doing that for my character a lot. And then of course you got all these feathers. I seldom times draw them in a huge amount of detail. I think it looks better, slightly less detailed. They almost look softer. I guess you could say they look poofier. I drew a realistic raven once. Just a raven though, not my character. And that was the most difficult thing, drawing the wings. Because it's not like what I'm drawing now is really simple. But like when you draw something that's realistic, like you start to notice, oh shit, these feathers, they overlap. They aren't just, next to each other. And the feathers, they have like slices of them. So you got a feather, like you think it looks like this, but no, it looks like this. And this is cool. I would use it for the very tips of the wings, but never for the entire drawing. I feel it takes away from it. Like, nature is dramatic, but art, you almost have to like tone down how dramatic it is. That way you can like accentuate, is that the term you would use? Could like highlight how something is. Like, so say you had a drawing and it was really, really happy, right? And then you look in the corner at a painting in the drawing and it's really, really horrifying. And it's just that much more unnerving because everything else in the art is normal looking. Her hand, draw it over here. I enjoy drawing her hand a lot because. Can I move this? I learned how to use this tool, guys. But yeah, her hand, it took me a long time to figure out how I was going to draw her hand. I'm not the best at drawing hands, so please excuse it. But, for a good long couple weeks, I started looking at this mutation where when you injure a part of your body, it heals with bone. Like, it turns into bone afterwards, and it was really cool. But I saw this picture of it, and this person broke their fingers, and they melded together. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. So, her middle finger and her ring finger are melded together. And it's pretty gnarly looking. And then early on when I was drawing this, I would have like holes in between, but now I kind of just do lines to represent them being connected. It's also so I've never really been able to master the skill of drawing scales. So I can draw like this. And I know towards the points, they like come into the middle and then they get smaller. And then over here I would draw like some of them are 2 and then some of them are 1. And then you go back to 2 and then continue on. But I've never been very great at drawing scales like on a bird. Like just on their arms or such. So that's something I definitely need to work on. Because birds are kind of cool, you know. Sometimes have to remind myself where that bump. Hi, Edgy Potato. How's it going, dude? Yeah, I kind of have to remind myself kind of where this bump on your hand is sometimes. I have drawn so many hands, I should be able to remember by now, but I always look down at my hand like, is that bump in the right place? It's like just opposite your pulse. It's difficult to draw hands. Do you want to know a easy way of drawing hands off to the side? Here, I'll show you. This is not big enough. So I'm quite new to Photoshop, actually. I grew up drawing on paper, and I just recently bought this, so I'm pretty inexperienced. But I can show you a pretty easy way to draw hands from the side real quick if you want. So you got this arm. Okay. Best way to draw hands is you start with this triangle shape, right? I think I learned this off of another YouTuber. I don't know their name. A lot of people use this trick, actually. But I use it a lot. You can do 2 more triangles, and then some other triangles, and then just overlap them. And then kind of looks like a hand, right? So you can go all like, zoom in. I've never been the best at drawing fingers either. Something I'm worse at drawing than hands, however, feet. Feet are the most difficult things, especially shoes. I'm embarrassed to say I try to avoid them as much as possible. So, and then you can draw the bump on the other side. And then these fingers down here, you can choose to keep them like this, or you can shade them in. And I always shade them in. I feel like it looks better, so let me erase this part here. Oh shit. Forgot to switch. That's okay, that worked out in my favor. Yeah, pretty good way to draw hands. And then if you're wanting to draw them face down, I can draw face down pretty good. Face up is a little bit difficult because I don't always know how to draw the, you know those stupid lines on your hands? They are not very fun. So, they always tell you not to do these rectangle kind of shapes. But I actually learned this from my friend.